Adryenn.
Hi.
Hi, I'm Adryenn Ashley. I am a venture capitalist, the founder of Slay Ventures, but in a previous life, I was the founder of a naughty dating app for good girls that gets women laid, and it required privacy and consent and blockchain. It's going to be a super fun conversation. You guys might want to know about your phones. We're going to mic drop 10, 20 times, you know.
I can't wait for the app that gets men laid. Just kidding. Andy, please.
Hi, I'm Andy. I'm a book author. I also run a fund in Singapore. But usually what I do in different conferences is to share. And then, to be honest, I love to talk about privacy. So let's do it.
My name is Seth. I already handle Mind Your Biz. That's my crypto gamer tag. And I'm a huge privacy advocate, nerd. I will talk about it at times when it's inconvenient. I will talk about it at times when it's apparently literally becoming illegal overnight with some of the solutions that we think are perfectly down. It goes beyond a passion. It's probably an affliction. So yeah. In addition to the day job where I manage Block's Media Group, we're a consulting group or advisory boutique, depending on how you call it. And yeah, we have to be able to evaluate various technologies, not just for market liability, but for technological soundness. So I've been monitoring every major wave in privacy tech in our industry over several years, and was the first to publicly interview many privacy-oriented founders, including your own Solid. So I'm very, very honored to be here.
Hi, my name is Sandy Carter, and I'm COO of a company called Unstoppable Domains. We're a digital identity platform. And I'm also the founder of a group called Unstoppable Women of Web3 and AI. We have a big event tomorrow too. Lisa's going to be on there to unveil our announcement tomorrow. So please join us. And thank you guys for having me as well.
I want to pose my first question to Seth, though I encourage the whole panel, jump right in, ask each other questions. I'll help steer, but we're in this together. Seth, we've sort of seen what privacy in Web3 can be and sort of maybe how it works, but could you just speak to the why? Why is it so important for you, and why is it so important for the future?
Yeah, so I'll start by saying that I feel like I'm no better or worse than any other human, and every single human at various times in their life feel an incredibly strong pull towards privacy. And I don't know that we always understand why, but I do think that it crosses cultures and various political divides. Everywhere you go, they're humans, they feel like they want it. So even if I don't fully understand it, I feel like it's very important for me to protect it for other humans. So yeah, I believe it's a fundamental human right, and that it doesn't matter which government system you work within, it is precious and needs to be preserved.
And I'm going to gracefully disagree. Yes, everybody wants it for themselves, but they don't want it for everybody else because they want to know what everybody else is doing, because they're curious, because we have systematically framed them to need that dopamine hit every 30 seconds.
Okay, but you're wrong though. So, and here's why. Do you shower with, no, actually don't answer this. I was gonna ask if you have a shower with the curtain open, or if you change with the windows shut.
Literally lived on a lagoon and never even had curtains on it, and 4 years later realized that the people who were driving by in the boats, one day just out for giggles, I was like, I'm gonna wave. And I waved. He waved back, and I realized for 4 years I've been walking around my bedroom naked, sitting on my bed in my underwear, like years, never had any idea.
Yeah, see, and if I do that, the cops get involved really fast. That's just, I'm sorry, but there definitely are gender differences and sex differences, and I think that the short end of that stick.
If you're inside your house, you have the right to privacy, and even Justin Bieber had the right to privacy of not being photographed at his house walking around naked, which they decided to post online on TMZ. The boy's got skills. That's all I gotta say.
Andy, what are we missing? How do we get consumers to care? Should they care?
I think consumer got to really care about it, to be honest. So I give an example. Last year I was with a global pop exchange, 5 days anyways. I dealt a lot with Red Bull, so the racing team, and then Sui came onto the picture, Sui, the blockchain, and then we started to talk about how are we going to use the big brand, to get new users on board, right? And then the privacy question is something really big, among our own team and so forth. And then we realized one thing, the most important thing is to get more adoption. And then if the consumers have a lot of different things like, how am I going to create a wallet? What am I going to give up when I create a wallet? Who's going to know my wallet? So after a long debate internally, we thought that the best way to do it is using the ZK technology, right? So you
That's
get an NFT.
zero knowledge proof.
Oh, sorry, but you get an NFT for free, right? You go there, just put in your email, and then everything is tagged, done behind the scene, and nobody's going to know what is your wallet. You're not going to find out what's your private key. There's a lot of things that is done, and the user experience is good. Privacy is preserved. I think it's a win-win situation. I think that part of things is really missing. So that's how I look at it.
Yeah, and I think that privacy to me means that you get to decide what you want to disclose and what you don't want to disclose. So I work for a company called Unstoppable Domains, and you're able to use your digital identity to sign into applications. But as you sign into a DApp or an application, the app tells you, just like you just talked about, it asks you, I'm going to take this information, and this information. Are you okay with that? And if you say no, or no to maybe 2 of the 3 types of requests for information, the app then decides if it wants to accept you in or not, even with your own personal privacy settings. So I love that because then it lets each person decide what they want to share, what they don't want to share. It really still is a human right, but it is a human right that each of us gets to decide because each of us has a different definition of what we want private and what we don't.
I think we need to start. Let's just take it simple, right? We want consumers to use this. Great. When I go to a bar, do I really want them to know how much I weigh, where I live, how old I am? I mean, I get carded in Las Vegas. They card you if you look under 30. Awesome. I'm 55. All I want them to know is that this face is over 21. That's really all they have to know legally, right? So let's start with applications that consumers understand at a very easy level. I mean, people get confused with blockchain. I go, you use email every day. You don't know how that works. Stop complaining, right? Don't be afraid of it. You use technology. Honestly, I can't even explain to you how it works. And you use it. So that's how we have to drive mainstream consumer adoption. Easy, functional, and solves a major problem that everybody would love to have solved.
Here's where I'm going to disagree with you on this, because
I love that you disagree with me. You're going to be one of my favorite people.
let's try this on for a second. Maybe you won't like it so much in a second. So I disagree, and here's why.
Okay.
I disagree because unfortunately most people don't realize that there's any kind of a problem until they see a massive headline that claims somebody else has been damaged. They need to see either some kind of terrible technological failure, or they need to see outright fraud before they believe, okay, you know what, maybe I want a little bit more privacy.
I can literally drive an app to over 10 million users with one headline that basically says that a bouncer was collecting women's addresses and there was a string of rapes. Boom, done. App downloaded, problem solved, game over, everybody's got a wallet.
And yet people still they still go to bars, and they still charge the bouncer. They still even paying an extra $50 to get in fast. That we haven't eliminated the threat vector, but privacy versus confidentiality versus anonymity. I think if we start trying to pick our battles
But we gave it all away. I mean, the horse is out of the barn. Let's put it this way. Google knows everything, including the porn I like to watch. And I'm okay with that. I don't necessarily want it on the cover of TMZ. However, I do like that my life is much more well organized because Faye knows everything.
And let me pose this question to the group, and maybe Sandy, let's start with you, but really for everybody. You don't have to convince this room in the audience right now that they want privacy. These are the people that want it. But for the governments, or for the major players that have a problem with it, they see crime that happens, they see inappropriate things on the blockchain, and they think, well, we gotta regulate this, we gotta put rules. What is the proper middle ground? Is there a middle ground?
Well, I think right now people are coming down to understanding what trust is and what it's not. And I think governments and companies what is trust and who do we trust? The Edelman Trust Barometer just published, and trust of governments right now is at an all-time low. Trust of companies is at an all-time low. Borderline on AI, by the way, which Lisa says is going away anyway. But it's really fascinating because I think some of these items that we've been debating, whether people care or not, I think they do care in an underpinning fashion. And so I guess what I would pose back to governments or companies is, do you want to be trusted? It's relationships that move GDPs, it's relationships and trust that move companies' value. And I think that privacy is one of the ways to move markets and engage. Do you want to say something? You're just waving at an
You're just waving at friends.
I agree. Okay.
Don't worry.
And I think that is the big thing. You mentioned that trust of government is very, very low. I mean, what are we supposed to think when they're trying to roll out IDs that would literally, and other governments have rolled out IDs that have literally mandated that people couldn't leave the house, couldn't work, couldn't go to the grocery store, couldn't do this, couldn't do that. And then they want to roll out CBDCs, and heaven forbid, you have a Snickers habit, and all of a sudden they determine that anybody who has ever bought a Snickers in the last 10 years is going to jail. And it could be that innocuous of a thing.
Yeah, let me bring another example. So you asked about what governments think here. I'm going to just very briefly, this is a matter of public record. There was, at the last conference that I went to in Estonia, very small Eastern European country, they conduct a public-private roundtable to discuss policy. And we had a conversation about MiCA, and the way that they're interpreting MiCA. In 3 hours between their Minister of Finance, the Web3 Association, they have a Web3 chamber for their country. Their nation's CTO is very small, they have a political there, and a massive roundtable of experts. In 3 hours, I was the only person to even use the word privacy once. So what do governments think of privacy? Very little. Very little. And when they do actually talk about it, they immediately frame it as sort of this giant, scary boogeyman monster that makes their jobs hard and inconvenient. Not impossible. It makes their jobs inconvenient, and they don't really want to have to bake this into any of their considerations of, say, digital identity. They don't want to think about that.
Okay, now let's also talk about.
I just want to just chip in a bit. I give this I give advice to government directly to be very, very honest. They know everything, right? If they want to know each and everyone's wallet, where the money is going and so forth, they can definitely track it. I give you one example. I can't name the country, but I was talking to the Minister of Technology 2 weeks ago. And then he started to ask me about, what do you think about us tracing all the different wallets on Ethereum and so forth? I said, yeah, I think that's good. You could always buy some services to really track it down. And then he asked me, what about money laundering? My immediate question to him is that you could actually track everything. So whoever that is trying to wash the money on chain, you can easily track that, right? Then he asked me about other privacy applications, for example. I also brought up a silent swap. That told him the theory behind the silent swap, and other kind of washing apps and so forth. Then he posted many different questions. How does it work? Is it really untraceable? I think yes, to a certain extent. On-chain, untraceable. But are you really worried about what's happening on-chain? He said, not really. I just want to know when they're going to cash out in fiat. I said, yeah, when they cash out in fiat, you can definitely track them, right? That part of this prime thing can actually be tracked. Maybe on-chain, they can't really track it. It could be really complicated. But once they cash it out in fiat, or maybe they have their own CBDC, for example, it's 100% traced. Why do you want to worry about technology? We are technologists. We are not criminals. That's the thing I want to say.
We have 2 minutes left, so maybe Seth start with you.
We have 6 billion data points. The data is out there. The government doesn't need your permission. They can literally go to a third party and just buy it.
They always do, but what I'm curious about, And that's phenomenal. The VPNs exist, so do encrypted tunnels. There's various other, it's obfuscation at best. It's not perfect privacy, but neither of the things that we've come to rely on like PGP. They've only ever been pretty good at best. So what I'm wondering, just very quickly, as a follow-up question to you, because you said that you talked to government policymakers about privacy, but what I heard was you talked to them about transparency, not privacy.
Well, there's also no transparency, to be honest. But if you talk to governments, they have their own agenda, right? So again, if you are going there as a Web3 guy, we talk about technology, right? But whatever that we are trying to say right now is a bit more towards the Web2. So what I am trying to propose to them is to use technology to give a bit more edge to everybody, and how they look at data differently, But whatever the case is, it's kind of transparent to them what we're trying to do, in terms of what we are trying to move in terms of money. So it still goes back to the same thing.
I think the government needs to volunteer to be the first guinea pig on CBDCs and run every single department on them and make it publicly transparent so we can all do audits and figure out who's spending $600 on a damn toilet seat.
I love it, Sandy. I love your final thoughts from you.
I was just going to say, I think that trust is paramount here, and I think that privacy builds confidence and trust. And so I think the more that we can educate, the more that we can help others to understand that, the better off we will be.
Always more to talk about, guys. Let's continue this conversation for the rest of the week. But thank you, everybody.
And I want to say, Lisa said, what did you say, confidential cloud? Confidential computing. She made a bold statement. It's going to take over AI. I'm thinking she's right. Just saying.
Thank you all.